Hello, YouTube. I like to read posted articles of a bright Russian scientist, a graduate of the top military space academy, now a leading engineer and a programmer. He was involved with the ISS and the Mir space station projects. He was in the GLONASS and other special programs of his country. Most likely, he also worked in the little-known Russian Space Intelligence Agency. Sergei is very bright. I think there is a reason he publishes information on the internet about outer space exploration, celestial mysteries, moon, and Antarctica. For instance, maybe it is a signal to his counterparts pointing out certain things, meaning this: we know this much in Russia, or more, but this is all we will admit to. Or maybe Sergei is just having fun. Look, Sergei has immense knowledge and a very cool sense of humor. And you can find more of my videos about him and his published information. Here are his observations about one famous American scientist of German descent. After I present Sergei's views, I will add a few things he has been silent about. In the story of the lunar adventure of NASA astronauts, it is impossible to put a bold dot in any way, meaning there is no end to it. And it probably won't work anymore, since there is no such proof of the reality of lunar missions that would convince the most stubborn debunker once and for all. You cannot even mention about the mountains of documentation that are really in the public domain, thousands of photos and hours of film materials. All this quite material evidence can never be mentioned again, since all this is clearly forged. But there are still some moments in this whole story that raise questions even for those people who have never doubted that NASA managed to send people to the moon 6 times. One of these stories is connected with the famous German rocket scientist Werner Von Braun. This man, in the midst of the lunar race in 1967, when everything was at stake, took and for some reason went to Antarctica, okay? At the very time when the most important work was to be done. The most complex engineering decisions had to be made, and the chief designer of the lunar program of the United States just up and left. So why did Von Braun do that? For what reason did a man with brilliant talents, an engineer who designed the most powerful rocket ever flown and the most complex guidance system, go to the end of the world? Why? The official account says that Werner Von Braun went to Antarctica in order to study extreme conditions on the continent that could be similar to the lunar ones, and also to study samples of lunar meteorites, of which more have been found in Antarctica than anywhere else on Earth. Such knowledge could help in planning lunar missions. That's it, curtains. Don't you find this visit strange, or rather it's rational? Did NASA really not have a single geologist to use, or a biologist? According to this logic, Von Braun could plug all the holes in NASA's lunar program. Who will fly on the first test Saturn rocket? Von Braun. Who will be the first to fly around the moon? Von Braun, of course. Jokes are jokes, but NASA 100% had no problems hiring the most famous geologist in the world. But for some reason, Werner Von Braun went to Antarctica. And this strange, seemingly inconsistency naturally gave birth to a natural legend among a certain group of people. Everything is clear with you, Mr. Von Braun, they shouted in the morning under the windows of the former SS Sturmbannführer. You went to Antarctica only to collect the lunar soil there, which is full of it there, and then give out this soil for allegedly, then pretend the soil was allegedly brought from the moon. But we have figured you out. Confess. Von Braun stood unnoticed behind the curtain, just to the right of the window, and puffing on an unlit cigarette, silently watched as the police, with the help of water cannons, dispersed the raging crowd of American taxpayers. So what are we talking about? Oh yes, we continue. This is all Sergei's humor, so please understand. Meteorites that hit the Earth from the moon really exist. And Antarctica is really a good place to look for them because it's a desert and it is much easier to detect an obviously foreign rock on its surface. But in fact, it's not easy at all. And there are not so many of them there, these rocks. In fact, the astronauts of the Apollo missions delivered about 380 kilograms of lunar soil to the Earth, and about 100 pieces of lunar meteorites with a total weight of about 150 kilograms have been found on our planet at the moment. And this is due to the efforts of geologists all over the world. So, if you believe the conspiracy theories, it turns out that NASA was able to find much more moon rocks in Antarctica in the decade in which it deceived the whole world than all the geologists of the planet found in the rest of the time. And anyway, Antarctica gained worldwide recognition as a place where many lunar meteorites can be found only in 1969. This was stated by Japanese researchers. Therefore, it sounds rather strange to say that Werner Von Braun went to the icy continent in 1967 to collect samples in a bag, which could then be passed off as rocks that came from the moon. And most importantly, lunar meteorites are very different in appearance from the samples delivered to the Earth by the Apollo astronauts. Those that were delivered by people from the moon have very small potholes and microcracks on their surface. They appeared under the influence of micrometeorite impacts, and you can only see them using a microscope. However, these characteristic features are completely absent on the surfaces of lunar meteorites found on Earth. Those features, simply burned up when the stones passed through the Earth's atmosphere. There are other surface features that are characteristic only of moon rocks brought here by astronauts. For example, their outer layer is rich in helium-3, an isotope that is very problematic and expensive to obtain on Earth. Also, the elements that arise when interacting with the solar wind are perfectly recognized in the samples, never seen on Earth. And if you chip off the outer layer of any meteorite to remove traces of its passage through the Earth's atmosphere, then all the numerous evidence of its presence on the lunar surface will be lost. Obviously, it is impossible to collect 380 kilograms of lunar meteorites in Antarctica and pass them off as a material brought from the moon. Only one question remains open. What the hell Werner Von Braun left everything in the midst of work for and went to Antarctica? Is it really in search of secret knowledge? That was Sergei. Now, let me tell you this. The Soviets had used brains of numerous captured Nazi scientists too. It wasn't just the Americans who employed the SS officer and National Socialist Party member Werner von Braun. And that's how Kapustin Yar, for example, utilized their labor, those Nazi scientists. One such top Nazi scientist even had a portrait of Hitler in his residence in the USSR. You see, they were indispensable, and later, actually, they were returned to West Germany, and some stayed in the East Germany. But while in the Soviet captivity, they diligently forged the powerful military arsenal of the Soviet Union and participated to an extent in the Soviet space program. As for Antarctica, please watch my videos in the attached playlist. You will find about the Soviet research and touching cooperation as well as rivalry with the United States. You'll find out about UFO and USO observations there and the attacks on Soviet submarines in the 1940s by an unknown adversary. And do realize the story of the Antarctica's mysteries and the superpower top secret research there is only just beginning. But there are three now: China, Russia, and the United States. And Sergei is obviously sending a signal of sorts with his publication. We just do not know to whom and what it means. But it's fascinating. So, if you like my research, please kindly support me through PayPal and other ways you'll find in the description to this video. Please like it, please subscribe to my channel, and please tell others about it. And I thank you for your attention to my work.